Today's question, first one comes from Ewen. Ewen in KL. It's difficult to think about what a successful life looks like. How would I begin? Okay, so we're talking about the exercise now, right? And the exercise is, what does a successful life look like, right? Looking at like 6 to 7 different categories or what's most important to you. And each of them are fighting for your attention, but it says it's difficult. Well, what does a successful life look like, and how would I begin this exercise, right? Well, one thing that's going to be true in your life is the important things in your life are going to switch and change with time, right? So look at several different things. Like when you're single, you know, like family, you don't have as much. Because when you get married, you have a wife and you have kids or a husband, whatever it is, right? But when you're single, it's going to be different. Your priorities are different too. And when you are married, it's different. When you have children, it's different. So there's different stages of your life. I want you guys to just start with right now, what you feel right now. Because you need to start with something, right? One of the things that I heard from my English teacher. And my English teacher, it was very, very smart. It's a very life-changing comment they made to me. And you know, a lot of times you're trying to write a story and you're like, oh, I don't know what to write. And they said, write anything. I'm like, what? Just write anything. I was like, it's going to be terrible. It says, it's better to have something written down to talk about with me than to have nothing at all. There's nothing to look at. Well, so my thing to you is, looking for that successful life, start with something. Start looking at these first things that come to mind, right? And that might not be the actual answer, but write the first thing that comes to your mind in all those categories. And then after that, what do? Then you can start thinking about it a little bit more and say, oh, do I really like that? Which one do I think, right? So it's difficult to think about it, but start with right now, your stage in life right now, the things that you really, really feel and want, right? And it might not be the right answer, but you need something first so you can think about that. Is this really it, okay? So thank you, Ewen from KL. So start with something. It's better to have something to discuss in your mind than having nothing at all, right? Next one is Karina. Karina in PJ. And Karina in PJ says, is there really enough time to balance life? It seems that there's not enough time to be successful at each aspect. Great question. Okay, so this is why you're doing the exercise. So what's happening is there enough time for everything? And the answer is no. There's not enough time to do it the way that you would want for every single thing if it was individually done. For instance, relationship with your children, how much easier would it be if that was the only thing you were doing? It'd be so easy because it's the only thing you need to do. However, if you have 5 to 6 different things that you're trying to manage in your life, what does that mean? Or let's just say down to 3. Let's just say health, work, and entertainment. Let's just say it's those 3 things, right? Even if it's just 3 things, there's not enough time to do everything you want, and that's why you look at those 3 things and you have to balance. Meaning, I only have this much time, so how much will I spend for this? How much will I spend for this? And how much will I spend for this, right? Because obviously, it doesn't make sense to have entertainment like you work. Like you can't have entertainment 8 hours a day like you work. It just doesn't make any sense. You're not contributing to society. You're not making any money, right? So you want to look at those different things that are really important to you, and you have to balance, which means that if I only have this much time, this much is given here, this much is given here, and this much is given here. But you have to give to all of them. You can't just feed only one of the wolves, okay? So that's why you're trying to look for all these. You won't have enough time for all of them, right? So that's why you have to look at it and balance it. Let's go to the next one. All the way in Indonesia, Ready in Indonesia. Oh, the name is actually Ready. So that's the red leaf, I'm assuming. Sometimes I have really big work projects that take a lot of time and I can't really balance the other parts. How would I deal with this situation? Okay, so there are going to be certain special times in your life. Like for instance, you have a big work project, which means you're going to have to put more of your time into that. The only difference is you have to already know, right? So you're knowing that, oh my gosh, this is going to take a lot of my time, which means that all your, the certain times you don't have, because it is really important, you have to push it to a little bit later. But then after it's done, you need to decompress. You need to go on a little bit longer vacation. You need to kind of get yourself out of that situation, right? There are going to be these times in life, and that's normal. It is normal that sometimes you have finals coming along the way, and you are going to have to sacrifice certain things because it's finals time, because of that, right? But it doesn't mean you completely throw everything away. But at the end of the finals, you want to have more time, right? To put aside for, I got to get, I got to rest my body, got to become more healthy. So it's part of the act of balancing, right? Because there are times that you do need to worry more about your health, because what if your doctor says you're obese or you have diabetes? You got to take care of your body a lot more. The things that you eat, how much exercise you do, it's much more bigger of a concern, right? So yeah, when we're looking at the most ideal way, it's just like boom, 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 5 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, and that's so easy, right? But in life, we're going to have those things that are going to pop up like emergencies. And that's a normal part of life. But it doesn't mean you completely throw away everything else, or you push everything to the end where you can have a little bit longer break after that really big push, okay? Let's go to Hannah in Japan. Decompressing is a cool idea, but how to decompress effectively when outside factors like people, bosses always get in the way? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't get in the way if you're, like, you have to think about this very carefully. Bosses and people only get in the way if you let them into that area. Example, for instance, if you have nowhere to go, like say you're in your work, like, and you take a walk around your business, just to take a quick walk, right? And what you can do is you can take a quick walk and you can come back, and someone might bother you along the way, but you need to take that walk, right? And you're like, well, but what if people bother me? Well, then sometimes that time of decompressing, it doesn't have to happen during work. It can happen after work. If it happens after work and your boss calls you, guess what? You don't have to answer. You can call them back. Let yourself decompress first. Take that 30 minutes out, decompress, and then turn your phone off. And then after that, you can call those people back and say, hey, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I was doing something, right? Sometimes your decompression time can be in the morning, early morning. Sometimes decompression can be later at night when you can look at the entire day. Right? There's lots of different ways you can do it. If it's not possible in a certain situation, then you have to figure out when is the best time to do decompression, right? Do it effectively. Yes, there are outside factors, and that's why you want to move your decompression times to different places. And a lot of the times it's better when it's at night when everyone's sleeping, or it could be not at night, but it could be early in the morning, right? And those are good times too for decompression, right? And then, you'll have a decompression time, go get a coffee, sit in the cafe for 10 minutes, and then go back upstairs. Or some people have to. I know some people that go to the bathroom. They go into the stall. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they decompress. They just sit down, decompress, then they leave, and they go back to work. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of wise ways you can do it. Cool. All right. Thank you, Hannah in Japan. Let's move to Jennifer in Korea. Jennifer in Korea says, how can I enjoy reading a Bible? Are there any tips you have? And the answer is, wow, that's interesting, because I love reading the Bible. It's so enjoyable. No, I'm just kidding. Well, no, I'm not kidding that it's not enjoyable. What I'm saying is, like, say for instance, if it's the Bible, if it's some parts of the Bible are very difficult. I understand this. If you get into like Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, like, right? It's like so hard. But the ones that are really fun to read are like stories. Yeah, stories are really, really fun, right? So you can start off with like a book in Genesis, or the New Testament's really good too. But for the Bible, I would have to say that you can read multiple books at the same time. So for instance, read the Bible for like 10 minutes. You don't have to do it for a long time, right? And then, you should have another book too. Like, what if you have another book that is explaining parts of the Bible? Or another book that's just randomly something else, right? There's lots of things that we can read, or things that can help us to read the Bible too. Like, one of the things I like to do is to look at the history behind the stories, or I like to look at, oh, this is where it comes from, and it gives me a much better idea of what I'm reading. So a lot of times we read stuff we have no idea about, and that's why it's not interesting. So sometimes it's good to, like, let's just say today I'm going to read the story of Cain and Abel, and go out and check out what's the background of that story of Cain and Abel. And after you know the background, then you learn it. It's much more fun, right? The more knowledge you have, the more fun it becomes. But yeah, I do suggest you read multiple books, not just one. Read multiple books, okay? Thank you, Jennifer in Korea. The question is from Junda, right? And he's in Malaysia. And the question is, I have set my schedule, but I can't keep it up. What should I do? Okay? So usually when you can't keep your schedule, there's two reasons. Number one is, for instance, your schedule is too ambitious. Too ambitious means that like you're like this, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 3:30 and then I'm gonna do this and do my homework, and then at 5 I'm gonna eat breakfast, and then at 5:30 I'm gonna go exercise, and then at 7:30 I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna study until 11 where I have my class, and then at 12:30 I'm gonna eat lunch, and then at 2 p.m. and it's just like right? What I want you to do is I want you to set your schedule. Right? In the beginning, just set the most important parts, the things that you think for sure, 100% you have to do. 100% you have to do this one, right? And then give yourself a little bit more free time just in case it has to move around a little bit, right? And that's one thing. So it could be that your schedule is too ambitious. The second one is that you're not very responsible. And if you're not responsible, it's better to have someone to do it with. Right? It's better to have someone to check on you, right? It's better to, you need someone to hold you accountable. Like for instance, if it's exercising, right? Like you can't have someone checking your everyday schedule, but let's just say it's exercising, then you should go exercise with someone every day at a certain time. And then you'll have someone to do it together with, and you'll keep the schedule much easier. And if it comes to doing something else, like say studying, you have a friend you study with and you go and you study together. That means for different parts of your life, you have people that are holding you accountable for it, okay? So it's usually if it's too ambitious, the schedule's too crazy. And the second one is you're not quite responsible enough to keep it, right? And you need someone to help you on different areas. Exercise, your faith, your career, right? Church or school, right? Studying, relationships. These are all things that you might need someone to help you and hold you accountable. Or like I would say, it's good to have a mentor. Having a mentor is really, really good too. Okay, cool. So that means that this ends the Q&A. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Sky. Make sure you click subscribe, obliterate that like button, leave some comments, and support us on Patreon. All right, catch you later.